Hey Dream Chasers, it's JC, and I'm going to be totally honest with you. I am depressed as hell. First of all, I just want to say that if you're going through something serious, please seek help. I have some links to resources in the description. Real quick, so I'm not a doctor or a mental health professional, and this is not medical advice. This is personal, anecdotal stuff, and it may not apply to you. I just wanted to share my struggles in case it ended up being helpful to someone else. By the way, that bone crunching sound in the background is bone crunching. That sounds really ominous. It's just Riley. She's just chewing on a bone. So, like I said, I'm depressed. Sometimes it's tempting when someone says that they're depressed to ask why. But if you suffer from depression, you already know that there's not really a clear answer. It's just something that happens. I have bipolar disorder, which means I experience extreme highs and extreme lows. It's something I've struggled with since I was a teenager, and it could definitely get in the way of not just my productivity, but my ability to take care of myself even on a basic level sometimes. So, how have I produced so much art in the past year, despite suffering from severe depression? Clearly, I've cured my depression and I have all the answers, right? No. I think the key isn't figuring out how to battle your depression head on, but to find ways to work around it when you're feeling okay. The main thing that I've done differently this year that I haven't done in the past is establish new habits and patterns for myself. I started streaming on Twitch a little over a year ago. I created a schedule of specific times that I'd be streaming, and I told people about it. Having a consistent schedule for making art helped me form the habit of drawing several times a week. Now, because it's a habit for me, I can usually manage to do some art even when I don't really feel like it. In the past, I would just kind of wait around to get inspired or motivated, which doesn't really work long term, especially when you're depressed. It's hard to be motivated to do much of anything when you're depressed. You can't really count on inspiration to just strike. But discipline and training yourself to do something regularly, even if you don't feel like it, can make it easier to break through those, I don't feel like doing anything feelings that come with depression. But please understand, the whole habit forming thing isn't something you do mid-depression. It's something you do when you're kind of sort of feeling okay. It's like how when you're super depressed, but you still manage to do some basic things on autopilot, that's because you've been doing those things consistently, and it makes it easier to go through the motions sometimes. But not always. If you barely have the energy to get out of bed, the last thing on your mind should be those lazy artist guilt feels. That's not going to help you. That's just going to dig you a deeper depression hole. The idea that depression fuels creativity is garbage. Everyone likes to point as Van Gogh as this tortured artist who created amazing artwork because he was in pain, right? Well, recently I watched Hannah Gadsby's comedy special, Nanette, where she destroyed that whole idea. If you haven't seen it, by the way, watch it. It's incredible. Anyway, she shuts down the argument that we wouldn't have the sunflowers if Van Gogh had been medicated for his depression. I didn't know this, but Van Gogh was medicated, and one of the side effects of his meds was that it intensifies the perception of the color yellow. Gadsby suggests that we have the sunflowers precisely because Van Gogh is medicated. The idea that artists have to suffer for their work is so harmful. I know I internalized it for a long time. It especially made me feel guilty every time I was too run down to even get out of bed and shower that I wasn't up creating. Because even though you can turn your past pain and trauma into art, that doesn't mean you have the strength or energy to do it while you're in pain. So if you're currently depressed, laying in bed watching YouTube art videos and getting more depressed because you feel guilty that you're not creating, it's okay. Take a deep breath. Forgive yourself. And get through one thing at a time. If all you do today is get up and take a shower and feed yourself and drink some water, then that's great. You don't have to do anything else. Heck, you could skip the shower part as long as you promise not to skip the water and food part. And when you're feeling better, just draw something for you. Don't put a lot of pressure on it. I used to stress out every time I drew that it had to be my best work or otherwise it wasn't worth doing. But that's such a stressful way to approach art. Instead, just draw something for you. Draw something super self-indulgent. Draw your favorite characters making out. Or draw something adorable and fluffy. Draw something and don't worry about if it's good. Just have fun. And if you're in that, I need to do studies every day to get better headspace, personally, that never worked for me. Yeah, studies will help you improve, and drawing every day will help you improve. But doing nothing but art that you feel obligated to do will make you burn out so fast. I never really stick to stuff like that because I get bored. For some reason, I was always waiting to make the art that I wanted to make because I felt like I wasn't good enough yet, and I had to do all of these studies first. Now instead, if I want to get better at something, I try to work it into a piece I'm doing. I might do a quick study of that thing, but at least I know I'm going to put what I learned to immediate use. It's a lot more satisfying that way. For example, if I know I'm going to be drawing something Art Nouveau style, I might include some flowers. I'll do some sketches of a flower I want to draw, and then I'll put it in that piece. And now I've practiced drawing flowers, which is something that's always been on my list of things that I want to get better at. In general, when I'm not in that deep depressed place, I find it helpful to be on the lookout for signs of it. If I'm starting to feel burnt out and tired and irritable, then I know it's time for a break. I tend to overschedule myself and take on way more than I can handle and leave very little room for leisure or just downtime. Then I end up crashing and doing nothing because I don't feel like being productive. But I also feel too guilty to do something fun. I end up in this weird, boring, guilt-ridden limbo where I just kind of lose time. I know it makes no sense, but it's a pattern I fall into a lot when I don't let myself take breaks and have fun sometimes. So when I notice myself kind of doing nothing, that's when I decide, okay, it's time to take a break and do something fun. One of the other things I struggle with is this idea that my self-worth is linked directly to my art. I often fall into the pattern of measuring my self-worth in terms of how much work I'm getting done and how well it's being received. I don't have a lot of advice to offer in this area because it's something I'm working on in therapy, but I try to remind myself that it's okay, and I'm going to remind you too. I want you to know that you're worthy of love and kindness, regardless of your artistic output or how many likes your art gets. You'll never be able to know who you really are or what you're capable of if you don't take care of yourself first. So start there and be patient with yourself. Forgive yourself. Be kind to yourself. If you end up becoming an amazing artist who puts out amazing work and gets amazing feedback, that's great, but that's not what makes you valid or worthy. It's not even what makes creating art valid or worth doing. You should make art for you because you enjoy it. And you can't enjoy anything if you're not taking care of yourself. So yeah, we're just talking in circles now. I'm gonna wrap this up. So to recap, if you're depressed right now, just worry about one thing at a time. If you need to get help, get help. Celebrate stuff like getting out of bed, feeding yourself, drinking enough water. Take it slow. Your body and your soul need extra care right now, and that's okay. And if you're feeling up to it, make yourself a schedule and start small. Once or twice a week, draw something. Make it a regular thing. Do it with friends or while you watch a Twitch stream. That way, you work some socializing into it and it's a little more enjoyable. And just make sure you take breaks and forgive yourself for being a human being who needs breaks. By the way, if you like this print, it's available on InPrint. It's part of my Cheveux de Fleur series. And if you're watching this video within the first week of it being posted, you can get 10% off using the coupon code EZANIHL. Anyway, thank you for watching. Until next time, chase your dreams. But also, practice some hardcore self-care and drink more water.